Hello everyone. It's now 6 months into this pandemic, and in states like Maharashtra, it is still not sure as to when things will return to absolute normalcy. Given the fact that the economy has been limping around for 6 months, maybe it's time we need to look at certain key indicators of the economy to actually assess what is the situation and what is the way forward. So in this discussion, I'm going to discuss about three things. One is about the employment, two is about the GDP, and three is about the way ahead. What is the scenario that we are looking at? And what are the possible things that we could do to deal with the situation ahead? So first, let us have a look at the employment scenario. Now, it's a well-known fact that about 21 million jobs have been lost during the period April to August 2020. This is not a small figure by any means. It's a huge number. And this should possibly be one of the most serious worries or concerns that we should be having and we should be addressing. Now, this 21 million jobs which have been lost, apart from depriving people of their livelihood, has a lot of cascading effect. Now, 81% of the job losses have been in the age group of 20 to 29 years. This again is a very serious issue, which means a lot of these senior personnel have not lost their jobs. The majority of the job losses have taken place in the age group of 20 to 29 years, and this is possibly the spending group. This is not the saving group. This is actually the spending group, which means these people's losing jobs has adversely affected the spending pattern in the economy. As a consequence of people losing jobs, there has been a fall in the consumption expenditure like I mentioned just now. And those who have still been lucky enough to maintain their jobs and those who are still having money are opting to save rather than spend it. Now this is reflected in the consumer expenditure, which at 14.6 trillion rupees was the lowest since September 2014. And on the other hand, the outstanding term deposit which scheduled commercial banks increased by 3.5 trillion during the June 20 quarter, whereas the personal loan portfolio shrank by 633 billion. Now this clearly indicates that people are not spending and they are opting to save. And because of the uncertainty attached with their earnings, most of them are not willing to take personal loans as well, because one is really not sure that will they be able to repay it. Now this loss of job and its consequential effect has resulted in a fall in demand, which has affected both the manufacturing and the service sector. And this is evident by the fact that the Indian economy shrank by 23.9% year on year in the second quarter of 2020, which is much worse than the market forecast of 18.3% drop. Look at the GDP growth rate, like I just mentioned. And one more thing which you need to remember here is I'm talking about the GDP growth rate. I'm not talking about GDP per se. The GDP growth rate has shown a negative 23.9% growth, which means that it is actually reversing back to its 2014 quarterly levels. I mean, effectively, we have been set back by almost 5 to 6 years. Look at the June 2020 quarter construction cement production, which is down by 38.3%, and the finished steel consumption is down by 52.8%. Now, the commodity that we are talking about here is construction cement production and finished steel consumption. Now, obviously, these are two of the most critical components that goes into construction industry. Now, a fall in these two components would obviously indicate that there has been a fall in the construction industry as well. So, if you look at the effect on construction sector, you would see the sharp fall in July 2020. Whereas if you compare it with the figures of the earlier periods, you would notice the figures are at a much higher level as compared to July 2020. Now let's look at the decline in GVA, that is the gross value add, June 2020 figures. The manufacturing sector GVA has dropped down by 39.3%. The mining sector has dropped down by 23.3%. The construction sector has dropped down by 50.3%. The trade, hotel, transport has dropped down by 47%. But if you look at the banks, their profits before provisioning and taxation has actually increased by 26.8%. Now, obviously, all this taken together, that is the loss of job, the fall in the consumption expenditure, and the fall in the manufacturing sector would obviously have certain fiscal impact. Let's have a look at the fiscal impact. The gross fiscal deficit overshot its annual budgeted target for 2021 by rising to 8.2 trillion in the first 4 months of the fiscal. In fact, 83% of the budgeted target deficit was achieved in the first 3 months of 2021. I mean, can you imagine this? The budget deficit that was targeted for the full year, 83% of that target has been achieved in the first 3 months itself. So you can very well imagine what this deficit figure is going to stand by the end of the fiscal year. Now, obviously, this ballooning fiscal deficit would result in an increased borrowing target. So the borrowing target has been raised by 4.2 trillion, indicating, like I said, a much higher fiscal deficit. And the worrying factor is that this deficit is not due to additional expenditure to fight COVID, but it's due to drying up of the resources of the government. Now, what do we mean by this drying up of the resources of the government? The gross tax collection fell year on year by 29.5% during April to July 20. The direct tax collection suffered a drop of 29.1%, and the indirect tax collection suffered a drop of 39.2%. Customs duty shrank by 54.1%, but on the other hand, excise duty increased by 23.8%, but then this rise in the excise duty is majorly because of the increase in the price of petrol and diesel. It has got nothing to do with increase in the manufacturing or production of articles or things. And as regards the disinvestment target of $2.1 trillion, भगवान मालिक है इसका क्या होगा? पैसे तो है नहीं. People have lost their jobs. So this disinvestment plan, according to me, is going to suffer a serious setback in this fiscal. So what's the road ahead? So now we have seen that people have lost jobs en masse. Because of the loss of jobs, there has been a fall in the consumption expenditure, and because of the fall in the consumption expenditure, obviously it has impacted the manufacturing and the service sector because the demand for it has obviously fallen. And this has obviously resulted in lower tax collection because of lower income and lower profitability by corporates, lower indirect tax collection, and of course lower excise duty. Now again, I'm not considering the rise in the excise duty because that is purely because of, like I mentioned, petrol and diesel. So I'm not really considering that. So now, given this situation, what is the road ahead? Now, to understand the road ahead, we must first understand the sectors which have been majorly impacted. These are real estate, tourism, retail, and again in retail I'm not talking about essential goods, because essential goods obviously the demand would not be affected. People are still consuming rice, people are still consuming wheat, so that carries on as usual. So when I'm talking about retail, I'm not talking about the essential goods. Then you have airport and allied services, and you have seaports. Now these are the 5 sectors which I think are majorly impacted. And what are the roadblocks to recovery? See, first thing is that there has been a sharp dip in revenue and profits of corporates. Now obviously this is going to result in lower collection of taxes. So the government is going to lose a lot of revenue from there. Then there is a problem of labor migration. See, a lot of this labor, because of lack of job opportunities in metro, they have shifted back to their villages. Now the problem is, in India, fragmented farming is already a big problem, which means the people who are living in the rural areas, they are already leading a hand-to-mouth existence. Now, if their relatives who earlier had their livelihoods in urban areas, now they migrate back to rural areas. Now these laborers who are migrating back would only pose an additional burden on them. It would result in disguised unemployment in the agricultural sector. Then obviously we have the liquidity crisis. Low capacity utilization is going to be a big concern for corporates, and there has been an obvious disruption in the logistics. Now these are various roadblocks to recovery. Now, having discussed the roadblocks, what is the solution ahead? See, the road ahead is going to be very, very tough. There is no point in saying or being extremely optimistic and saying, oh, we will come over it, we will tide over it. That's going to be very tough. Because given the situation right now, especially in a state like Maharashtra, which contributes almost, I would say, 65 to 70% of the tax collections, where things are so uncertain, no one knows when the city of Mumbai will again stand back on its feet and be 100% operational. Local trains have not started yet. Now, given this kind of a scenario, the road ahead looks a little misty and a little foggy. And given the fact that no one has had any kind of experience in dealing with a pandemic like this, there is no precedent from where we could, take lessons from. So we will possibly have to deal with this situation as we come across it. But having said that, there are certain things which I think should be done by the government to ease the pain of recovery. One is give a financial impetus to SMEs and MSMEs. Second is help the migrant labor shift back to urban areas where there are job opportunities. Third, bolster the capital of the banks by possibly accessing cheaper funds so that banks can lend more money. The government should actually consider cutting some of its expenditure like salary to government employees by say 10 or 15%. I mean, if private sector people have lost their jobs, then I guess it is only fair that even the government should reduce its own expenditure. So that will bring down the fiscal deficit to some extent. I wouldn't say it will bring it down to a large extent, but yes, to some extent. And the government should kickstart infrastructure project. Now this could be vital because this again would trigger the consumption of cement, steel, and not only would it trigger consumption of cement and steel, but it would generate employment opportunities which would again incentivize migrating labor to come back to urban areas. Because if the migrating labor doesn't come back to urban areas, there is going to be another set of problems. Your infrastructure projects which are ongoing in these metropolitan cities would come to a standstill because 80% of the labor who work on these kind of projects are migrant laborers. So the government should kickstart the infrastructure projects so that that triggers employment opportunities. So like I mentioned, the road ahead is going to be pretty painful and very uncertain. So in this kind of a situation, all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope that the government takes certain or some steps to ease or alleviate the pain of the common man. That's all for today's session. Stay safe, stay healthy, and ciao.